To Barbara.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
We have such sights to show you.
Who's laughing now?
Are you crazy? I'll kill you all. I'm the greatest nightmare you've ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
They're here.
I made it.
I like it.
There. Okay.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you little bit.
Okay, sorry. I'm gonna have to talk loud. We're at Texas Frightmare right now. Well, the day before it starts. So we're outside right now. It's pretty loud. Sorry. I'm not sure where Andrea is. I know she was feeling really sick this week with an earache and all that stuff. So hopefully she feels better soon.
Yeah, the poor dear. Earache, ear infection, and then it all just leads into total mayhem in the face. So
yeah, Miguel and I were talking earlier that an ear infection like really fucks up the rest of your body. Like your equilibrium's off. Like you get dizzy sometimes, headaches. Like I know I used to get ear infections a lot when I was a kid, so I know that sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like your face is just full of tubes that all connect to everything all over the place. So if one tube is messed up, everything else is going to get messed up. So
yeah, it's crazy. But how are you? How's it going?
Oh, good. Another day in the life of AQB, if you will. But doing good.
Right on.
Ready to
Miguel
talk
and
about...
I took a nap earlier.
Excellent. A nap is always good. Hey, there he is. There's the man in charge.
The night's still young.
Well, that is correct. That is true.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Whoever's joining, I can't see anything. I can't. Let me try to find comments. There we go. Alrighty, here we are. Timothy's joined us, Tony and Peter. Hello, guys. Nice to see you this evening. Thanks for joining us. Tonight we're talking about conspiracy theories in horror films.
Lots of good stuff. I was doing some research about this earlier, and there's so many different things. I mean, people go crazy with movies. They always want to come up with side stories and how everything relates to everything else. But with horror movies especially, there seems to be a special kind of universe, the special kind of conspiracy that people want to talk about. And I think what that is that people are trying to relate themselves to those stories. I don't know why, but I think that happens with any movie. People want to relate the make-believe and the magic of a movie to how it applies to them in their real life. So, but this was fun. I had a lot of fun. Some of these I kind of knew, like stuff that I know about and wanted to enjoy, but I wanted to do some research to get some different takes, and there was lots of stuff to figure out. So I'm excited to get into this.
Right on. Real quick. Sorry, hang on. We're right next to an airport.
Plane, stop flying. Land, you're being rude.
Planes?
We're trying to do a show here, damn it.
Did you have a would you rather for this evening, or should I get into the deaths we can laugh at? It's okay. No, it's okay. I know. We're
Admittedly,
still...
I need to have a laugh today. So admittedly, let's just talk about stupid people dying. That's what I want to talk about today.
So 1988, the year we were born, there was a guy who wanted to use his Dracula Halloween costume and decided that he wanted to make it look sort of realistic with like a knife in the chest, you know, that kind of thing. So he got a thin piece of wood and decided to hammer a knife into the wood, miscalculating how thin the piece of wood was, and he ended up stumbling into the party after hammering a knife into his chest, and he said, "I really did it." And then he ended up dying.
Does he know anything?
He did it.
I mean, does he know anything about Dracula? Like a knife in the chest? That wouldn't do shit. Like,
right? I don't get it. So, first of all, his costume sucks. Poor planning. Second, he's just an idiot.
But I mean, you had me at shitty costume. That I could abide just a little bit. You had me at trying to be realistic, but you lost me at the knife. Everything else is like, well, you deserve it because you messed up. Like a knife wouldn't do shit to Dracula, so of course.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. Like, why didn't he just make a stake out of the piece of wood that he had?
And then you could cut it in half and just glue it or something.
Yeah, like, come on. So this guy, that cracked me up because this guy was fucking stupid.
Oh boy.
He deserved everything he got that he did to himself.
I mean, I don't know. I can't. Ugh. God. Goodness gracious. Well, I didn't laugh, but I can't. I'm just blown away by the stupidity. Stupidity's been happening all over the place today, so I'm lost. I can't laugh at it today because my ability to laugh at stupidity has been exhausted. So.
Oh no. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm trying to listen to you.
No, that's okay. I enjoyed the story, and that's the important thing.
What a waste of a death, Mark Valentine. Yeah.
Mark, you're correct. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell me it says 1988, you're fucking killing me. That was my tier in high school. Was it senior year in high school? 1988, that's the year we were born.
We're little.
We're still, I don't know. I don't know. I guess we're young. I don't know. It's weird. Are we young?
I like to think I'm young. I don't know.
As long as I still look like a girl for girls 4 inch in, I think we're good.
That's all that matters. All right. So horror conspiracy theories. Who wants to set us off? Should I go? Do you want to go first? Do you have a good one?
You know what? You were super enthusiastic about this one, and I love it. So you go first.
I was. All right. So I've got a few different movies I want to talk about. I think the first one that we should start off with is, of course, The Shining, one of the most beloved cult classic, cult favorite horror movies ever. Hate to be a buzzkill. It's not my favorite. I'm not a fan of the movie. I think it's boring as shit, but hey, that's okay. Everybody else loves it.
To each their own?
Absolutely, to each their own. But there's a really interesting conspiracy theory that I read up about it today. So essentially, in The Shining, I was reading that basically the whole events that happen at the Overlook Hotel, which is the big hotel where the whole movie takes place, was basically an MK Ultra experiment that Jack Torrance, the character that Jack Nicholson plays, was being experimented on with MK Ultra techniques, and then everything that happened in there was a big mind control MK Ultra experiment. And I thought this was interesting.
That makes sense to me.
It absolutely does, and it's interesting. There's a couple of little Easter eggs in the movie that kind of give this credence or kind of give it away. So there's a scene where Danny, the little boy, his son, is playing in some room, the scene where you first see the twins, right? The come and play with us, Danny, the twins. The first time you ever see them, standing in the doorway, to the left or to the right, I couldn't remember, is a poster on the wall that I think is a picture of a skier or something like that. And then underneath it says Monarch. And if you know anything about MK Ultra, another code word or another word that they had for the project was Project Monarch. Right?
Yeah.
All of the ghosts that were in the hotel, like the twins, the bartender, that old lady in the bathtub, all of that stuff were essentially just hallucinations that Jack was having as a side effect of MK Ultra. They weren't really there. I mean, all of that stuff was just stuff that was created in his mind because he wasn't taking to the process of MK Ultra very well. So he was just bugging out and wigging out, seeing all of this stuff. And then at the very beginning of the movie, you remember he goes in to have an interview or just a little meeting, a talk with his editor about going to Overlook and, you know, writing this book and getting it all out if he was interested in that. There's a man called Bill Watson that comes into the room and kind of sits down and, you know, they kind of share this meeting or what have you. And in accordance with this theory, they're saying that that guy, Bill Watson, was actually a CIA operative that came into the meeting to sort of watch to see if he was a good pick or a good fit for the experiment. And then this whole thing with, you know, The Shining itself, we know that The Shining is, you know, Steve King's version of, you know, special mind powers, being psychic, being telekinetic, all of that stuff. The Shining is essentially MK Ultra. That's what they're trying to attain, is The Shining. And so the reason that Jack, his dad, was trying to kill him was because he has this power naturally. They want it. And because he was bugging out because he wasn't adapting well to MK Ultra, he just went after him just as pure stupid vengeance. That was like, you have what I want to harness it from you, I gotta kill you, I need your brain so we can dissect it and figure out how to do it.
Wow.
Kind of intense. Makes sense. Understandable. Fits within the theory. Oh, there she is!
There she is! Sorry, she was waiting for a minute. I just now saw where it said guests. Hello!
I'm all like,
yay, you're here!
How are you feeling? Are you okay?
I'm still sick.
Aww.
But I figured I'd still make it.
Yes, happy you're here. Happy to see you. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yes, for
Miguel
sure.
says hi. Come over here and wave.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Come here.
Hi.
Again, still alive for the most part.
I'm sure you guys are having a blast over there.
Yes, it sounds like you guys are having fun. That patio, wherever you're at, that sounds like a good time.
We're in Dallas, Fort Worth, at the Hyatt Regency right now. That's where they're holding the convention. And right now there's just, you know, a few people hanging out on the patio, having some drinks or whatever. So it's fun. Aww. We took a nap earlier, so now we're finally awake and like able to do stuff.
I was looking up at the lineup where you guys are gonna have like the guest or whatever. The guy, I don't know what his name is, but the guy from American Horror Story for Murder House, the original, he's gonna be there. And I was like, ooh.
He might have canceled. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of guests, actually, a lot of actors that were gonna be here, but because of COVID or like other engagements and like even one actress, she had to go to school because she's, you know, a teenager, so she has to get out of the event because she has to be in school. So I don't know. I guess we'll see who's gonna be here. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get in frame. I'm trying to get close enough to where I can hear you, but far away enough to where I'm not in your face.
That's what I did on my first episode.
Thanks for coming to the show, everybody. We're happy you're here.
Hello.
So next time we definitely have to get all together and go to one because that'd be really fun.
Oh my god.
Absolutely. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So we're talking about horror story conspiracy theories, I was just talking about The Shining, and that one, that's a whole bit.
Yeah, I was listening to you talk about that one, and I've heard about that one actually, which I
Yeah.
thought kind of, in a weird way, kind of made sense.
Yeah.
When you really think about it, you're like, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a couple others, unless Lauren, if you wanted to jump in, or.
All right, I'll go. Okay, so mine's really quick. I'm sure you guys have heard this one. Sorry, hang on. Sorry, it's loud. Okay, so there's this theory that was going around that the Breaking Bad and the Walking Dead are in the same universe. Because if you look at an episode of The Walking Dead where Merle, it's in the very beginning when you first meet Merle and Daryl and all that, and then you see his little baggie of drugs, and it's a bag with little blue crystals in it.
Oh.
So it looks like the blue meth that was in Breaking Bad. So I thought that was really cool. There's a couple of other things that kind of make people think that they're in the same universe as well, because Merle's drug dealer, which Daryl mentions a few seasons in as like a janky little white guy. And if you look at Jesse Pinkman, he's a janky little white dude, you know? But the only thing that I could see there are kind of holes in this story is that The Walking Dead takes place in Georgia and like Virginia and, you know, out there. So Breaking Bad is in New Mexico. So I don't know.
Well, we all know that drugs travel.
But
we all know that drugs travel. So, I mean, it still could make total sense that it somehow made its way over there. I mean,
That's
it's
true.
possible too. And also, they're both in the AMC kind of universe. They're both on the American. Wait, what's it called? No, wait. What does AMC stand for? Shit, I forgot. It's been so long.
I think it's like American Movie Classics or something like
American Movie. Oh shit, that's right. Because I remember I used to be able to watch black and white movies on that channel.
In the good old days,
Yeah.
that's where we watched all the old movies. But now it's all Walking Dead and shit, so, which isn't bad, but.
Yeah, I would love it if they did some sort of crossover. That would be really dope. Maybe not even with the main characters, but at least mention that something about it.
Like a spin-off with all those. That'd be cool.
But
Like if Walter was a zombie. That could be cool.
blue meth started the zombie apocalypse.
Or that'd be dope. I'm here for that. All right. Well, you know, if we're talking horror movies, conspiracy theories, we cannot not talk about the absolutely classic horror movie, They Live, right? Starring the one and only Rowdy Piper. The tongue twister, you know, whatever. So, of course, the whole premise of that movie, I'm sure you guys have all seen it, but just in case, spoiler alert, whatever, deal with it. The whole premise of that movie is Roddy Piper, lives in a world much like our own, a big city. There's lots of people, commerce, all this stuff going on. And long story short, he finds a pair of sunglasses and he puts them on. And when he puts on the sunglasses, he can see that basically the entirety of society are these creatures. They have kind of like skull faces and their teeth are weird. I mean, they're aliens essentially, I believe they're aliens, or they're just kind of this subspecies that have taken over Earth. And if you look all over the place, there's all these subliminal messages up on billboards and on the TV and just playing over speakers, just pumped in. But then as soon as he takes the sunglasses off, everything goes back to normal. Everybody looks normal. Billboards or regular advertisements. The TV is just playing whatever the TV is playing. Everybody's normal, just having conversation. Instead of hearing all of these subliminal messages on the radio. It turns back into just regular music. It's this whole, he discovers that there's this whole other world inside of our world. And a bunch of other stuff happens in the movie too, but that's the basic premise of it. So essentially, that whole idea plays into the idea that essentially the entire world is run and handled and has been taken over by some sort of different entity. Now, you could say that it's, the rich and powerful elite all over the world, like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and, all that new world order kind of spooky stuff. Or you could even go as far as to say it's something like, the reptilians have taken over the world, which is what a lot of people say along with this new world order. It's the reptilians and the powerful elite are working together to take over the world, and everybody's their slave, and they're just here to make money and reap profits. And
really quick, sorry, I'm gonna hop off real quick so you guys can talk because it's so loud over here. I don't know if anybody can hear you. So I'm gonna hop off real quick, okay? Go ahead,
okay.
You guys, go ahead. You're doing great.
Okay, no worries. So have you seen that movie, They Live?
I have.
Yeah, so you can see, like, there's this whole thing of, like, these powerful takeovers and this alternate species that have taken over the world and that are trying to, rule the world, and everybody's a slave and this, that, and the other, and all that kind of crazy stuff. So, and I think that movie was made at a time where that kind of conspiracy theory was starting to sort of take hold and like starting to become a little bit popular. I'm not sure of the exact date, but I'm pretty sure that movie was made during the 80s.
Yeah.
So during the 80s in the US, I mean, we were rich, we were powerful, everything was just going up, 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 up. Everything looked good. And then, that sort of conspiracy that, like, wait, something's happening here. People started to get some people started to get a little bit uncomfortable with the fact that, like, why is everything going so good? Mm-hmm. So that's where that whole sort of, something's not right. There's something happening in the background started that whole idea.
It's crazy when you start reading into conspiracies because they actually start to make sense. They do.
Right.
Like when you look at them, like you're like, and you hear all like what other people's versions are, you're like, you know what? That's possible. It could be true. Like there was one I read up on. I guess they thought they come from the same universe too, and it's Ash from Evil Dead, Jason, and Freddy Krueger. That they all come from the same universe. And I was like, you know what? That kind of makes sense. Like when you look at their backstory, I kind of see it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was reading up on something very similar that like, did you ever see the movie Us? The Jordan Peele movie with, yes. I love that movie so much. Mm-hmm. But I was reading something that said that like Michael Myers is actually a tethered. Like I read that and I'm like, that's awesome. I love that theory because that makes total sense. He comes out of nowhere, comes back out of nowhere to like just kill people.
When I read that one, I was like, wait, and I started thinking about the movie and everything. And it started making sense to me. And I was like, that could actually be true. I'm like, wow, yeah.
Yeah, no,
they really dig for those.
You know what? It's kind of a double-edged sword with like fan theories kind of, because some of them are so good, like this one with Michael Myers being a tethered, and then some of them are like, what? So it's kind of like I'm like, you're reaching there a little bit, bud. But that one, I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah, when they have two, like, they're too similar or their backgrounds are just, they kind of just blend and they match. You're like, whoa, that makes sense. But there's others that you're just like, no.
Yeah. Going back to They Live really quick, we have a comment here from Macabre, I believe. Hey, 2 Breeze. What's up? Anyway, they're saying They Live can teach one a lot about oneself, the vanity of society and shocking aspect of how society deceptively operates. That's absolutely correct. 100% correct. So, I guess the moral of that is if you're walking down the street and you find a pair of sunglasses, don't put them on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, you guys. Ignorance is bliss.
But then again, I might put them on.
I might put them on too. It depends on the kind of day I'm having. I might put them on. Now, this one I think is probably my favorite out of the whole bunch. And I was on my lunch break when I was reading this at work today, and it wound up, I actually went over my time on my lunch break without me even realizing, because I was just reading about this so much. And then when I was trying to explain to my boss, I was honest. I told her what I was doing. They know I'm kind of a creepy weirdo at work. When I told her what was going on and I was trying to explain it, my boss, God, she's so funny, but she just kind of looked at me like, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. I'm glad you're interested in that. So, but anyway, this one, I got to get into it. So this one, again, is a little bit more of a fan theory. It's not really necessarily like a conspiracy theory, more along the lines of they live and stuff like that. But this one is essentially that the Purge, all of the Purge movies are a prequel to the Hunger Games. Now, I know that some people, as soon as they hear Hunger Games, they might cringe a little bit, but this checks out. Admittedly, I've only ever seen the first movie, and I didn't really have an interest to see the rest of them, but this is good. So if you guys have seen the Purge movies, I know there's 10 of them now, and now there's even a TV series about the Purge. But basically, the storyline of the Purge is the Purge happens for a little while, and then basically the middle class and the lower class of society in Purge times basically revolts against the Purge and against the government and the whole process, because they feel kind of left out because they're not protected. The only people that are really kind of shielded from this whole Purge thing are the wealthy, because they can afford to have really good security and they have these big homes with these massive, fortresses around them. So they're protected from any harm whatsoever.
Yeah.
So basically there's this revolution between the middle class and the lower class, people that don't have quite as much money that can protect themselves as well. And there's this whole civil war that starts. And basically the only reason that the Purge ends is because the civil war happens. And then they realize, oh shit, this blew up in our face. This is now turning out to be the opposite of what we were trying to do with the Purge.
Yeah.
So there's this huge civil war, right? And then in the ashes of the civil war, if you will, the government, whatever was remaining from the government after this big, huge civil war, they basically start sectioning the survivors of this civil war into all these different districts. And if you know anything about Hunger Games, all of the people that are living in this Hunger Games world all live in all of these different districts or sections, right? And the closer you are to the capital, which I believe is right in the middle, the more money you have, the wealthier you are. You can afford to live real close to the capital. So with that being said, the richer districts, the ones that are closer to the capital, are once again protected, right? Because they're closer to the government, closer to being, actual protection from whatever. Also, all of the kids essentially that are basically part of this draft for the Hunger Games, they're given training. They're taught from a very young age how to protect themselves, how to survive in a Hunger Games kind of situation. Once again, government favoring the rich. And essentially they are trained to take out those lower classes that caused this civil war, this riot against the government to sort of end things. And, as we know about the Hunger Games, I know this much at least, is basically the Hunger Games are put in place as a punishment for causing trouble so many years ago. Yeah. So basically, this whole Hunger Games sort of thing, your kids could possibly die and very well will, is punishment for causing trouble back in the past.
That was kind of sad, but it makes sense again.
It's super sad. So, I mean, it seems, these two worlds, here's the Purge, which is a super violent, bloody, crazy thing. And then with all the movies they made, they expanded that web as to what the Purge is, and then people trying to stop it, and then the stories of what happened to them, and this whole thing again kind of falls into that, idea that the world is again, it's this whole government conspiracy that, the middle class and the lower classes are just being pushed out, and the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And and you can see that today. There's all sorts of aid cuts for lower classes, not enough resources for lower classes. I mean, just horrible gentrification of poor areas, so all the rich people can move in, and then all the poor people are pushed out. Homeless population is just getting higher and higher and higher, and not a lot is really being done for it. So I mean, it makes sense that like
It does.
the wealthy just want to inherit the earth, and then those that don't fit in that tax bracket some way or another get eliminated.
They're getting the boot.
Getting the boot, just getting pushed out. Absolutely eliminated. 100%. But there's so many that I look. I mean, look, I have 2 pages of notes here that are just full of all sorts of different stuff.
Oh, wow.
But that one, the Purge Hunger Game ones, that one had a little bit of weight to me.
I hadn't heard of that one yet. So that one, it's sad, but it does make sense. Again, it makes sense. I read one that was, what was it? The Collector. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, it's been a while, but I remember that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it was The Collector, and they have like the collection. I think there's a new one that's coming out, and that one is supposed to. People say it's a prequel to the Saw, or Jigsaw.
Oh, so is the Collector Jigsaw?
Yeah. So I was like, wow. And then when I started reading more about it, I was like, it makes sense, because if you've seen the movie, you see how he kind of traps people, what he does to people. And it's just, there's a very like, they both have the same sense of, you could just tell it's very similar. So I was kind of like, you know what? That one makes sense. Yeah.
Those
when I was reading some of them, I was just very surprised that there was so many, how people really come up with these, like, all these, because I'm just like, wow, my mind can't think that far.
Right. And I mean, with the Collector, that makes sense, because again, it's been a few years since I've seen it, but I remember the Collector, all of those deaths, trademark slasher film, very, very bloody, very, very brutal. And it, if you know anything about the Saw movies, everybody's just watching it just to see how people are going to die, and like how inventive and how creative Jigsaw is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Creating
He's very creative in his murders.
Absolutely. And in the Collector, that's what we see. They're not as clean and well put together as they are in Saw and Jigsaw. I mean, he doesn't really have all that crazy machinery that he makes. I mean, I just remember the one, the guy, his head, like clockwork, keeps getting like twisted around and around. I mean, and then there was the one where the guy, where like his rib cage gets ripped open. And then there was the girl that had, she became kind of like his second in command, but that girl that had the thing on her face that was going to like rip her mouth open. So her head comes apart, and like all of that gory stuff that we weirdo horror people love to see. I mean, really, that's the only reason people watch Saw movies, I think. I
saw the first 3 or 4, and then I stopped watching it, because when they start making so many of those movies, they kind of lose its like originality.
Yeah,
so I stopped. But there's going to be a new one coming out with Chris Rock.
You know what? And I've heard pretty good things about it. So maybe
it looks pretty good.
They bring a little bit of that magic back. I remember the first time I ever saw the first movie way back in the day. I think it was like 2006 or 2007 when the first movie came out. So I'm fresh out of high school, a little baby goth kid, totally into horror movies. And that movie was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And I remember the ending of it. I was sitting on my couch in my living room, and I was watching it by myself. I had rented it from Blockbuster, and I remember watching it. And then that end comes, and I literally jumped off my couch, and I was like, what?
There's
certain
certain movies that just stay with you, and it's not that it's not always the scariest movies or the more gory. It's just, there's just some movies that have that factor that just stay with you. And the part where it was the first one, and when he cuts off his own foot, you don't expect that, and you're just kind of like, what? It's crazy. It stays with you.
Right, it's that whole psychological aspect, and those are my favorite kind of horror movies. I mean, I can look at gore, I can look at slasher films, I can look at creature features, I can look at the classics and all that and be entertained. But when I watch a horror movie and it messes with your brain like that, it's not necessarily scary. It's just something that like makes you think about it. And then as you're watching Jaws, oh my God, as you're watching Saw, and you're watching these two guys like try to figure this out, you put yourself in that position and you're like, well, what would I do? Would I cut off my own foot? Well, yeah. Like, of course I'm going to cut off my own foot. And then you get that thing where you're watching the other people in these contraptions and they do the wrong move. And you're like, no, you idiot. You're supposed to put your hand in and then open it, not just reach in like a crazy person.
That would probably be too much pressure for me because I don't do well under pressure. I'd just be like, I'm just going to kill myself.
And especially when you have a time limit, because remember, they only get like a minute and a half to like figure it out before like, the head gets cut off.
I'll kill myself right now.
Yeah.
But another movie that was like that was the one that got me was, and it's not that scary, but it just messed with me for a long time, was that movie Hereditary. Have you seen that? That movie stayed with me for a long time.
Yeah. I read something about that today. It must have not been a very good theory because I don't remember it. But Hereditary, I think it was like Hereditary. Oh, this is what it was. Okay, now I remember. Hereditary and Midsummer, the other movie that the same director did.
Yeah.
It's the same cult in both movies. So remember, it's like the weird demon worshipping cult in Hereditary, and then in Midsummer, it's that Swedish. Oh, we're hippies, but we also kill people. Like
there was one for Midsummer, but I can't remember what it was. But there was one just for that movie, but I can't remember. But Hereditary, that movie, I had a friend who would come over all the time for that movie, and she's not like a horror movie. She doesn't like any of that kind of stuff. But I made her watch it. And she would come over my house and she would just be like, when she's cutting off her own head, I'd be like, don't do that.
And then just the sound of it, that like.
But the way, like her crazy look, she's like kind of like almost like laughing, and she's like just.
Toni Collette, man, I love the actress who was in that movie. I love her. So she's so good at being crazy. Like I've seen her in a couple other movies where she plays kind of like the crazy person, and she's so good. Love her. We have a couple comments I want to read off real quick. Lazy Burrow, of course, says, Final Destination, the log truck traumatized everyone still to this day. That's absolutely correct. I think if anybody is in their car driving down the freeway and they get behind a log truck, everybody changes lanes because we all know we're not doing that.
No, I still think of that all the time too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm changing lanes. I'm like, I've seen this movie. I'm not going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Miss Lauren, she pieced out. She had to get out of the live stream. It was a little bit too loud for her, but she's still commenting. She says, mother effed my shit up. Lauren, 1,000% I am with you. I watched that movie again by myself in my room with the lights off. Because I have such bad anxiety anyway, just naturally as a person, watching that movie, I had the most visceral, real anxiety reaction to that movie. If anybody has never seen it, I'm not going to explain it to you. Just go watch it. It's hard to explain really, but just the swiftness of the whole second act of that movie. I was sweating, my hands were shaking. I got up off my bed and I was like pacing back and forth in front of the TV. I was still watching it, still putting myself through the punishment of watching this movie, but I was like pacing back and forth. That is one of those movies that I can sufficiently say I will never watch it again. I've seen it once and I'm done. And I mean, there's nothing in it that's like overtly like typical horror scary. No. It just, again, I'm talking about that psychological aspect. It just will do stuff to you.
Yeah.
And that movie like stuck with me for a couple of days. And I've told a lot of people this same story about Mother. If you know me personally, you know, I've told you. Watch it if you want. I think you should, just to get an idea of what I'm talking about. But if you have an anxiety or agoraphobia or anything like that, take a Valium before you watch it, because you're gonna be level 10.
But I love those movies. I love them and I hate them because they make you go through all those emotions.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're like, oh shit, that could really like
Yeah, like you have to like afterwards, you have to like watch.
You have to process everything.
You got to process it, and you got to watch Looney Tunes or something to like bring yourself back to the fact that like it was just a movie. It's just a movie. It's just a Jennifer Lawrence movie. On top of all that, like just relax, chill. But that movie,
I already watched like a lot of cartoons. I watch a lot of South Park, and I watch a lot of reruns of Powerpuff Girls. So when I do watch something scary, my first like go to is like South Park, Powerpuff Girls, and I'm like, da
For me, like I have to pop on Futurama or something real quick. I have to just like get something stupid in my brain to take me away from,
just to get your mind working normally again. You're not all paranoid.
I can't do it. I can't do it. So let's talk about just a couple more conspiracy theories. This one is kind of a short one. It's a little bit smaller. This one is a little bit more popular. I think people have heard of this, but essentially the movie Blair Witch, a good old favorite in the horror community. Basically, Blair Witch is like time travel. So when the three movie makers, the three hikers get lost in the woods, the reason why they're going in circles and they get lost is because they're lost in a time warp. They can't get out of it. And so essentially when they get lost in this time warp, they kind of get transported back in time to when the Blair Witch was alive and well and causing problems, which is why they get deeper and deeper into the woods. They start to see all the things in the trees and all of that stuff because she's alive. She's there. She's making all these things and she's freaking them out and she's reeling them in to do her bad witch business. The one thing that really seals it, though, that kind of makes it a little bit more plausible is at the end of the movie, they roll those credits where they say like, we can confirm that this was actually them because they found her backpack and inside the backpack was like all of the tapes and stuff like that of all the footage that they had made before they were knocked out, to put it politely. But the thing that was interesting is that they mentioned that they found this backpack underneath the foundation of the Blair Witch house. And the Blair Witch house supposedly had been there for like 100 years. So how are they going to find the backpack underneath the foundation of a house that's been built and has been standing here in the middle of these creepy woods for, that long a period of time? I mean, if somebody really wants to dig that deep underneath a foundation, but if anybody has ever seen a house being built, a foundation that goes
pretty deep.
I don't know how deep for sure. I have to assume somewhere between like 6 and 10 feet, maybe. That's a deep. And I don't know if anybody is really going to dig that much to hide a backpack. Maybe to hide a body, but a backpack? I don't know. Yeah. So that one was pretty interesting. Has anybody seen the movie Jacob's Ladder? Does anybody remember that movie?
I haven't.
With Tim Robbins and there was a couple other pretty famous people in that movie too, but he's the main star. And essentially that story, if anybody's never seen that movie, is Tim Robbins. I believe his name is Jacob in the movie, which is why they call it Jacob's Ladder. But he is a Vietnam veteran, right? And he is just living his life, trying to be, I think he works for the post office, and he's just trying to be a postman and live his life. And I believe it takes place in New York. But he's just trying to, live his life and recover and, just be a normal dude. And then he starts having crazy visions and hallucinations. I think the most iconic scene that stands out for me is he and his girlfriend are at a party and like his girlfriend is like dancing, getting kind of hoey with like some other dude at the party because he's being kind of a buzzkill. And as she's dancing, like he starts wigging out because there's like a lot of people, and anybody who has social anxiety would understand this. When you're in a crowd of like a lot of people, you start kind of wigging out. There's a lot of people and all over you and people talking to you, and you kind of just get overstimulated and you start wigging out, and that starts happening. But then he looks at his girlfriend, and like his girlfriend, like out of nowhere, like this tusk or something, whatever it was, just comes shooting out of her mouth, like out of nowhere. And he's like, bah! And he just starts like freaking out. But progressively, he starts getting worse and worse and worse. And he's starts to get very, very paranoid, very scared of everything, doesn't want to leave his house because he's like, there's horrible stuff out there. Like, I can't do it. I'm going to stay in the house. And then eventually, and then his girlfriend is like, at first she's kind of understanding. She's like, oh, I understand, you're freaking out. But then after a while, she's like, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with you. And so she leaves him. And so he's left to his own thoughts and his own devices. And he's just trying to understand, like, what the heck is going on with me? Like, what's going on? I've dealt with this for so long and I've been fine. Like, what's going on? So, you know, he meets up with some of his other platoon buddies from Vietnam, and he asks them, and they're all like, we're seeing the same thing. Like, the same thing is happening. And we don't understand it either. Like, what's going on? And then, of course, you know, some shady government official comes and knocks on his door and says, hey, we heard you were talking about this. Stop talking about it. And then that just drives him even more to figure out
I would love to get a visit. By the way, I would love to get a visit like that. When you're talking too much about something and you get the guys in the black suits, I'd be like,
the men in black coming and knocking on your door saying, hey, you were talking about something. Stop talking about it. I would just talk about it more, I think. But essentially, he, you know, him and his platoon buddies are having all of these crazy hallucinations and dreams and all of this other stuff because, once again, MK Ultra, they were being experimented on in Vietnam, which we know that kind of stuff did happen in Vietnam. Like, they tried all sorts of shady shit, you know, basically not everywhere, but in a lot of different places during the Vietnam War. They tried all these experimental weapons and they tried all of these experimental techniques and all of this stuff. And, you know, they also did that in World War II, you know, on both sides. They were trying all of these different sort of things, basically whoever could win the war the fastest. So they were trying to like employ all these different things. And so they're saying that, you know, he's having all of these visions and hallucinations as a result of MK Ultra not working. Like, it didn't take, yeah. Kind of like what I was talking about with Jack in The Shining. Like, it wasn't taking. So like, he's having all of this feedback, this neural chatter where
functioning.
Right, exactly. All of this neural chatter where he starts freaking out and seeing stuff and, you know, everything, you know, he just loses his grip entirely because he wasn't a good candidate for MK Ultra. So I love Jacob's Ladder. If you guys haven't seen it, it's an older one. I think maybe like, I think that's an 80s one too, but it's good. It's a little bit aged, but I think the visuals are still really, really good.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I don't care if they're older movies. If it's a good movie, it's a good movie, period.
I love older movies. Yeah, I love older movies. But Jacob's Ladder is one of my favorites for sure, because again, it's the whole psychological aspect. Yeah. I mean, there's some scary imagery in there. There's kind of like some creepy little, like real quick, like flash imagery in your face. And then there's like these shadowy kind of creatures that are doing something weird. And you're like, oh, I can't really see what he's doing, but I know I don't like it. And like, there's that kind of thing. But it's more like messing with your brain. Like, it's that whole thing. I think that's really all of the really good ones I have, ones that I've written down. Oh, I have one more, and this one's kind of funny. I don't know. Have you seen that movie Society?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. So this is another older horror movie. This one's kind of a camp classic, kind of like a cult. It's not as well known as some of these others, you know, like Blair Witch, Shining. It's not one of the top tier, you know, you say it and you know what it is. It's kind of a smaller one. I saw this movie a couple of years ago and I kind of laughed through the whole thing because, again, it's very, very camp. So it's not really scary. It's just kind of like, what is this? This is so ridiculous. But basically the premise of Society is, once again, we're talking about elite. We're talking about New World Order, you know, rich people taking over the world. But how this plays out is... that basically, you know, there's this guy and he is born into this wealthy family, but he doesn't want anything to do with it. He just wants to be a normal guy. You know, he's like, I don't care about this money. I don't want to be a part of this. I hate this life. I mean, all these people are stuffy and boring and I don't want to have anything to do with it. But, you know, his sister is exactly the opposite. Bob Markwell, he says Society is the one with the butt head, isn't it? Yep, that's the one. And I'll get into it in a second. So essentially, he doesn't want to have anything to do with this. And then there's this whole thing where like his parents are trying to get him to be a part. Like, oh, come to this dinner party, come to this, come to that.
Is it like the Skulls type movie?
Not really. I think they're just trying to be parents that are like, hey, just come be involved. Like, come do this with us. Come do this. And then at first it's kind of harmless. But then as the movie goes on, they're like really trying to like drag him in. And you kind of pick up on it. And then that's what kind of like throws his head where he's like, what's going on here? Like, why is this? Why are they trying? Like, I don't want to be, I don't. And spoiler alert once again, but even me saying it doesn't even give like any sort of idea as to what this actually is. But essentially there's this giant elite orgy, if you will. And there's all sort of course, it's all white people because, you know, elite, it's all white people, but they're just kind of rolling around on each other. And it's, you know, all of this sort of like, oh, it's so, you know, this, and they're touching each other. And I don't think, no, I'm not going to say that. But the thing that makes this the most funny is that in the midst of this orgy, like all of this clear goo slime just starts like.
And his mom wanted him to join?
Well, the thing that makes it even more weird is that his mom, his dad, and his sister all get into this mix, along with a bunch of other people from this, you know, elite friend group that they have. It's this big orgy with like all of the slime is everywhere. And then at some point during this orgy, essentially they start to mold into each other and like congeal into like this big slimy fleshy mass of like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, which is why I said the first time I watched this, I was like, what is this? Like, I get the premise of, again, once
is
again,
it
it's
just sperm that's collecting?
I don't know if it's sperm or spit or sweat.
I had to say it.
Just all of this stuff just starts congealing. It's just all of this stuff, and then they start melting into each other. And then, you know, the comment about the butt head, essentially, it's like, you can Google it if you want to see it, but essentially it's like the back end of somebody, and then where, you know, the hole should be is just somebody's face. And then just, so imagine this, and then a butt around it. Yeah. So anyway, Society's fun. If you guys want to take a look, I don't know where you can watch it. That might be something you'll have to torrent, because I don't think it's streaming anywhere, and you can understand why. But I think that's how I saw it. I think a friend downloaded it and showed it to me like when I was in my 20s. He's like, you have to see this movie. And I was like, okay, Society, all right, whatever, sounds cool. And then it gets to that part and I'm like, why are you showing me this? What is this? But then I'm laughing at the same time because it's just ridiculous. It's like how did this movie go from rich people trying to be rich and then it's this? I don't.
You know what? But some of the best 80s movies, they have such cheesy endings.
I don't even
remember. They still make some really good movies.
Yeah, but I don't even remember how this one ends. But that movie is notorious for that slimy people melting together orgy scene. That's like one of the first things. As soon as you say Society, that's the only thing that people are going to talk about. Who have seen it. They're going, oh my God. And then, that comment about
I can picture it in my head already.
Oh, geez. And then just take that, like all of those 80s, practical effects. So it's not very clean looking. It's still kind of janky and like stuff and foam. You know what I mean? Like just all of that stuff. All that. Okay. All right, Mom. Hey, you nurtured this in me. You never told me no when I wanted to watch a scary movie. So you can thank yourself. Another comment I wanted to talk about real quick. Macabre once again saying, so question of the night, what is one of your 3 favorite movies of all time? What do you think? How about you?
3 favorite all-time movies?
All time.
Bram Stoker's Dracula is one of them, of course.
Of course. Well, that counts because that's one of your 3 most favorite, right?
I like what's that movie? I'm still sick, so I can't. My brain isn't thinking properly right now. But that movie.
I don't want clear stuff to start coming out of your face. So,
what's that movie with Is it Crimson? Red Crimson? I can't think of the full name right now. I have like a blank.
That's okay. If you think of it, comment it when we do the post. Like comment it. Be like, I thought of it, guys. I thought of it. Well, I didn't realize what time it was because I got too involved talking about the butthead slimy 80s orgy. But anyway, just real quick before we go, we got to sign off in about 4 minutes, or maybe a couple. Anyway, one of my, I don't know. There's so many. I'm so obsessed with movies. I'm not sure. I mean,
it's
I have
hard
to
just to pick a few.
I have to say my namesake. I mean, I don't call myself Alien Queen for nothing. So, I mean, any Alien movie, probably the second one is my favorite, just because it gives, the Queen herself gets a lot of airtime in that one.
There's more action in that one.
So Aliens 2, probably. All right, you guys. Well, Miss Lauren, I was sorry to leave you. I'm sorry it was so loud, but hopefully you still, I know you were commenting, so you still got to take part and listen into the conversation. Don't miss us next week. Again, always Thursdays at 7. To be 1,000% honest with you, I'm not sure what we're doing next week. I know our schedule got a little bit goofed, a little bit messed, but just watch out on our Facebook. I'm sure we will update you guys with what's going down for next week. Also, Miguel and Lauren, I hope you have fun at Texas Frightmare. I know the both of us are soups jealous that we didn't get to be there, but next year,
have lots of drinks for me.
Absolutely, 100%. But I know next year, the G3 group, we're gonna go as a group, and we're gonna do the damn thing. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody that tuned in to watch us tonight. Hopefully, like I said, we'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
Once again, I don't remember what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be good. So don't worry about it.
And next week I won't be sick, so I'll be more talkative.
Yes, I hope. Yes, and of course, yes, please feel better soon. Take care of yourself. Yes. Drink lots of stuff, whatever it is. No shade. Drink lots of stuff. Rest up. Relax.
Yes.
Get that good stuff. Anyway, yeah, Bob, of course, good to see y'all again. Until next time, always, absolutely. We're always here every Thursday at 7. And also tune into our other shows, too. I know we've got Arizona on Tuesdays at 7. And then, forgive me for not being positive, but I think Las Vegas starts really soon, too. Again, watch our Facebook. We're always updating and posting and letting you guys know what's going on. So with that, we're going to sign off. And we will see you again next week. See you later.
Bye.